Tenet was too much.
I also think that Interstellar is one of those movies where I'm like, I watched it once and I was very entertained, but I watched it once.
What's your synopsis for Interstellar? Didn't you say something that made some sort of Christopher Nolan fan pissed?
So bad.
What is your
forgive
your
me for
synopsis
this.
For Interstellar?
I was like, he goes into space, he ends up in a bookshelf, and it's just this. It's
high-speed business at a
That's a
record
good
pace.
synopsis.
Get 70 miles per gallon on this fucker. This is a ship that made a
Ooh, welcome to the fast ones. Everybody listen. Everybody knows it's coming new session. Race week, people. It's race week, people. Get your hands up.
now
Get
all
out
of our
the
listeners
seats.
know that I
Race
mess
week.
with the actual recording device during the episode.
Yeah, this is live recordings. There you go.
And I make mistakes sometimes.
Yeah, forgive us for last week. We got cut short. So we have lots to talk about because we need to make up for all that we were cut short on.
Yeah, there's tons to digest this week.
Yeah, tons to digest.
Yes.
But let's just start off. We had a fun week at the Hungry Grand Prix. The Hungry Grand Prix.
The Hungry Hippo Grand Prix.
Yeah, dude, let's just talk about it. And then we can follow with what we talked about last week, which was a discussion about Lando Norris versus Charles Leclerc.
Right.
Who would actually become a champion first, given they were going head to head.
Totally.
But speaking of Lando Norris and the McLarens.
Oh, boy.
Oh, boy.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I kind of want to get your take. I feel like you got a little bit of my take. Yeah, I gave you a small dose of it.
Yeah. Okay, so
I want to hear kind of what you're feeling
I
about
watched
this
the
race.
Hungarian Grand Prix.
Yeah.
Early in the morning. Started off the race. Fell asleep through parts of the race.
Signature Max.
It's early. And in some of these races where it's strategy-based racing, there's not a lot of wrecks or safety cars.
Admittedly, this one was a little bit more that.
It was more that. So I did doze off, but I woke up for the last 10-ish laps. Enough in time to start seeing the drama happening between Oscar and Lando.
The McLaren
When I had
drama.
fallen asleep, Oscar was in the lead. And maybe Lando was in the lead. I don't remember. But then when I woke up, Lando was in the lead. And then Oscar and then Lewis behind them both. And there were team orders coming down for Lando to give him the place back. And I didn't know what had sparked that. And I thought if Lando's in the lead, just let him be in the lead.
Right.
And if he isn't, like if Oscar was, then like, yeah, let him fight it out. But also, why change the positions? They're getting the same amount of points for the team.
Right.
And why not give those to Lando to help him, I don't know,
In the
battle maybe
championship.
Max?
Yeah.
So I was very confused. And then the other thing that I was confused about was, why is Lando hating on Lewis? I think deep down, Lando hates Lewis.
Or it's just so awkward.
I think there's like this bitterness or like maybe jealousy towards Lewis.
Maybe.
Because we talked about last week how I think he needs media coaching.
Yes.
Because Lewis threw him this like fun softball
This
of British
perfect lob.
culture.
Yeah.
We love roast dinners. And Lando's like, I never eat roast dinners. It just like fell flat.
I just play on my Nintendo Switch.
Yeah. And then this week.
My mom forces me to eat.
Yeah, it's so ridiculous. And then this week in the cool down room,
Yeah.
Lewis, he's like, man, you guys are fast. Like, there's genuine sincerity
He's
in
like,
that.
man, you guys are fast.
You guys
And
are
he's
fast.
Like, why are you being a dick, Lewis? You pretty much won every championship until today, so why are you asking me
You
that?
had a fast car 7 years ago,
Why are
Lewis.
you coming at me
Why
like
are you
that?
getting in my face about this?
Why are you at me, bro?
Stay in your seat and
Yeah.
let me take my...
They not like us, Mercedes.
And Lewis was like, hey, it's just a compliment, man.
I was just trying to...
That was, you
It's
have,
fun to see the McLarens be fast again. The hell? It was so
he's
weird.
coming in so hot.
Yeah.
And I think, and yeah, maybe... Honestly, he just came off a very stressful
A very
second
weird
place.
second place.
He had first place locked in
He's
the
like,
bag.
He's won one race, and I think everyone thinks that Lando's won like 5.
Yeah.
All of a sudden,
And
they
he was
forgot.
like, I'm going to be a second time Grand Prix winner.
Yeah.
And then they made him give it back up. And he did give it back up.
Yeah.
And now he's in the cooler
And
room with
Lewis is like, your car is fast. And he's like, why'd you shut the hell up, Lewis?
He's like, you could have won that.
Yeah.
Shut up.
Why'd you just shut your stupid face? I don't understand why you're trying to talk to me right now.
You've won for 7 years and times ago.
How many times did your teammate have to win a race and you had to move over when it was your second win, Lewis?
Lewis can't sympathize at all with Lando at this moment. Lewis does not know what Lando is feeling, which is hilarious.
That's what it is.
That's what it is.
We figured
Lewis
it out.
is like, oh man, that's weird. Why didn't you get first?
Yeah.
Whereas if Bottas is in that room, Bottas would be like, Lando, just give him a hug.
Just give him a hug and hold him for 5 minutes and not let go.
And they both cry. Lewis has no concept.
They're like, we're not sure if they're laughing
the pain
or crying.
that Lando feels in obeying team orders.
Oh, gosh.
Because Lewis has had every team order go his way for his whole life.
Almost always.
Yeah. And even probably, I didn't watch the Rosberg years.
Yeah.
But there was probably orders I would say he disobeyed.
It was a lot of defiance. Yeah.
So Lewis doesn't even understand being a team player.
No, not at all.
He was like,
no.
That's weird. Did you got a message that said, give the position back and
you did it?
You know you don't have to.
You know that's just like an automatic message that plays sometimes. You know
from
how
the
many
FIA.
times they told me the same they told you?
I get it. Okay, maybe So I know why Lando hates Lewis now.
You guys are fast. Shut the Lewis. Why are you trying to talk to me right now? You've never had to do that.
Yeah, and now Oscar Piastris is a new F1 Grand Prix winner.
He's the 7th winner this season.
Cool.
Very
cool.
Out of 12 races or whatever it's been. 14 races, whatever it is.
But then again, going back to my takes on the weekend, and I think this is what everyone's been feeling, is that Oscar got his first F1 podium, first place.
Yep.
And it was the most deflated celebration in the world.
The most awkward win.
Just no one seemed excited.
Right.
Especially from the fans.
Right.
I guarantee everyone was just feeling so ambivalent about it. So melancholy. Just like, what is...
We were robbed.
This isn't fun.
We were robbed an experience.
Yeah, what is this?
By McLaren.
And they just saw it like slowly switching positions, and then he won. And I was like, oh, okay.
All right, everybody.
And Oscar probably had the worst feeling out of all. He's like, yeah, I won, but...
I feel like the one thing that I'm the most proud of in this entire scenario is how Oscar doesn't, not even a little bit, acts like he doesn't deserve it. Or that there's any awkwardness around it. I feel like Oscar has been like, I won that race. What a feeling.
That's good.
Every single post and everything I've seen from him, he's usually pretty transparent to a fault. And like, that's part of his humor.
Okay, yeah.
I feel like all of this has just been like, nope, what a thing. I can't believe I won my first race. I'm really excited. And I protected my trophy to make sure that when Lando did his bottle smash,
it did.
He didn't break it.
But Lando did shoot himself in the face. Did you see that?
Which was also really funny.
It's a very
metaphoric
at
moment.
that moment, Lando didn't want to be up there. No. He hated it. He didn't want to be smashing it, but he knew
he's got swimmer's ear from the champagne.
He does.
Yeah.
And he had to do it because his fans are knowing, oh, this is his gimmick. This is what he does every time.
Yeah.
And that was him doing it so angrily.
Yeah.
It was like when James Harden, at one moment, there's a classic James Harden clip where he's frustrated at some call and he bounces the ball, like he just throws it and it comes back and hits him right in the face. And he just walks it off like it doesn't happen. And there's other players that are like, oh,
they're like, did he just...
Is he okay?
That was like off the heezy, but like
I guarantee
6G.
I guarantee Lando didn't want to do that champagne's pop, but he had to do his little celebratory thing.
But he had to be a team player.
It would be so funny if he never got on a podium again. And that was the last time we ever saw the bottle pop.
Oh, man. That is just when he blasted himself in the face with it. The car's trash from here. Brakes are on fire every week. And so it
Except
just
for
goes.
Oscars.
It goes. Oscar goes for the championship for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
Oh, man. That would be brutal.
That was my take on the whole weekend. And I immediately was looking forward to asking you about it.
Yeah.
I know you did a little commentary about it that we saw, which was good, but we can dive deeper into it.
But I think I could recap it a little.
Yeah, recap it a little because why? What happened and why did McLaren make him switch positions at the end?
It's I mean, look, team orders have been around forever and a controversial topic in Formula One because it is the only form of motorsport that exists with this two-car, two-driver format where everything's identical but two teammates. When you go and race an IndyCar, there are several drivers who race for Andretti and for Penske, but none of the cars are identical. They have different sponsorships. They have different agreements and things that they have to achieve to satisfy contracts. But in Formula One, it's a team. Those two cars are the freaking same, and they have to earn Constructors' Championship points and Driver Championship points, right?
There's 2 trophies they're trying to grab.
Right, every weekend. And so that's a very interesting dynamic just from the outset, right?
Yeah.
But it's different from when we've seen it happen with Hamilton and Bottas. Because when Valtteri when it was Valtteri, it's James.
Yeah.
James Vowles, who's now team principal at Williams, was the guy who was calling Valtteri to tell him to move over for Lewis.
Yeah. Back then it made sense because Lewis was the one to win the championship.
And it was either battling with Max or Sebastian Vettel.
Yeah. And so it was
every point mattered.
Yeah. And so it was like, hey, let Lewis get ahead, defend for him, whatever. He's winning the championship.
And
this
it
year.
was awful.
Yeah.
It was awful. But at least in those instances, it felt like it was merited. And when Toto Wolff had done this, he always said that, look, whoever's ahead in the championship and is actually fighting to win it will get team orders.
Yeah, that's who will.
So if Valtteri was ahead of Lewis in the championship and it was a moment like that, it would have been Lewis move over.
It goes to Valtteri.
And so I know that it sounds ridiculous because we all had some sneaking suspicion that it would always be Lewis getting the preferential treatment.
Yeah, always.
Likewise, it kind of felt like that would happen with McLaren. So to their credit, they actually did something for Oscar this weekend.
They did something that's never been done before where they gave the person with fewer points the chance to get first.
It's that meme where Ferrari, when there's the meme where everyone's aiming a gun at each other and everyone just puts the Ferrari logo at every single person who's aiming a gun.
Yeah.
That felt like McLaren this weekend. And the reason being because it didn't feel like it was a championship deciding moment.
Right.
It didn't feel like there was any reason to use this tactic.
Yeah.
That's an icky tactic. It's publicly not anyone's favorite, not the fans, nobody.
No.
But as the sport has kind of seen it over the years, we've accepted it as a tactic to win championships.
And that's why we don't get too angry about it.
Right. It's
because it's just like a thing we can gripe about saying, oh, like Bottas is just getting the shaft again.
Right.
But we understand that they want to win championship. They want to win both trophies. Like,
right.
That's it.
Yeah. So we can't pitchfork and torch.
Yeah.
And go have
Let's
a riot.
not divide these points. Let's give them all to Lewis.
It makes sense what they were trying to achieve.
Yeah, there's a mission.
Whereas in this one,
there was no mission.
There was no reason to do this.
No big end result that we could see clearly. It was just ambiguous.
And so let me give you the logic as to why they made this decision.
Yep.
I'm sure you probably have gathered it, but maybe you were asleep when the moment happened.
I'm pretty sure I haven't gathered it.
Okay, so here's what happened.
Yeah.
Under the pit stop cycle, when it was time to change tires.
There's lots of pit stops too.
Yes.
It's a multiple tire race.
Right. Oscar's tires were going off.
Okay.
He had a little bit of a moment going off track, and his tires were starting to fade.
And in this moment, he's in first. He was in first the whole time.
And he had a 4.5 second lead.
Wow.
But while he got in traffic, the tires really started to fade, and things were not going well. So he's trying to keep it together, and Lando's in clean air, and Oscar was stuck in backmarker traffic, which is the lap down
people.
cars. Yeah. And so his car started to fade a little bit. And again, I wasn't watching onboard cameras or anything, so this is just a little bit of an assumption based on what I saw in the race. But Oscar had an off. His tires got dirty. They were fading, so things got a little bit tricky for him to handle. Lewis Hamilton he pitted to undercut. Now, we talked about how DRS was effective at this racetrack, but undercut is also super powerful. And an undercut means that you pit before the guy ahead of you, because on the next out lap on fresh tires, you can do a lap that's so fast that they can't compete with it.
Right. Yeah.
And then you're ahead of them. So you've leapfrogged them in a pit stop.
And this was very crucial in this race. There was lots of moments where a pit stop, if it was fast, made the whole difference in changing positions in the race.
Right.
This is a pit stop race, in my opinion.
Totally. Especially in the top 3 spots. This is going to be the most hectic decision making. So I watched it back to kind of run the math and understand the numbers. Lewis and Charles Leclerc pitted together and the lap before Lando. And there was a 27-second gap between Lando and Lewis. Okay.
Enough time for a pit stop.
Enough time and some change. So you would have to assume that in that first lap or 2 laps, Lando would have to lose 7 seconds to Lewis on that new tire. Okay. These are the things that the strategists are constantly working through with their mathematicians. You know, what kind of rate is Lewis going to be able to achieve that we can't? And so what they decided was to cover off the Lewis Hamilton pit stop, they needed to pit Lando to make sure that he didn't lose the position. But Oscar had faded the 5-second lead that he had down to a 1.5 seconds because of tire degradation. So they pitted Lando, and Lando, of course, because he got the lap ahead, was now in the lead when Oscar came out of the pits from his pit stop. And when Lando finished his pit stop, he said, okay, we now need to write the order.
Lando said this.
The engineer came over the radio.
I was gonna say Lando's saying this. Then why did he wait so long?
Yeah. So the engineer comes over the radio and says, Lando, we gave you the preferential pit stop to make sure we covered Lewis. We'd like to write the order. We'll do that at your convenience.
Yeah.
So they give him kind of the option. Once again, this is sort of McLaren strategy foibles. This goes back to Silverstone. What tire do you want, Lando?
Yeah.
Is it raining enough? Should you come in for it?
Yeah.
Too many questions.
Yeah.
Give him directions, not questions, right? Lando, do it at your convenience. What kind of call is that? But anyways, point being, Lando is in the lead, and he starts to drive away a little bit from Oscar, but he has clean air.
Yeah.
And now Oscar is competing with traffic. He's trying to fight through. And now he's at a disadvantage. And so he's not being able to make gains on Lando the way that Lando was able to because of traffic. But basically the point is, Lando's ahead. He doesn't want to give up the lead. He's fighting with his engineer over the radio saying, what? I would have done this anyways.
Yeah.
What's the point? Why are you trying to write the order? What? I undercut him.
Yeah, it's a race.
I would have done this.
There's nothing weird about this.
And he says, you're going to need a teammate, Lando. You don't want to do this. I'm trying to protect you. You want to win a championship? You do this for the team.
Wow.
And Lando's like, I don't know what you're asking me to do.
Yeah.
I would have won this race in a similar manner had we not done it like this. And so this conversation is awkward. It is back and forth like you wouldn't believe. And they're just playing it on TV.
Yeah, it was weird.
It's just like a lot.
This is when I woke up. Yeah. And it was weird.
you're like, guys, I'm feeling uncomfortable. Can we just let them be privately figuring this out?
And that awkward, cringy, uncomfortable feeling lasted throughout the podium and the rest of the weekend.
It was awful.
Yeah.
All right. So here's the reality of the situation. McLaren in this moment made the decision as a team that we have control. As the company, as the employer of these race car drivers, we can tell them what to do.
Yeah.
Because we're boss. We are the ones in charge. So we're going to let our drivers do an undercut so that way we guarantee ourselves the 1-2 finish. And we'll just switch the order around.
Yeah.
Rather than allowing this to just naturally take place in a normal order, which would be that you protect the guy who's in first because he earned it.
Yeah.
And you pit Lando second because he's in second place.
Follow the Mercedes rule.
Right. And then at that point, Lando would probably have to battle with Lewis Hamilton for second place. But the pace advantage that the McLaren had was substantial. It was huge.
Yeah.
McLaren was way faster. Lewis wasn't even going to be able to keep that position from Max, but Max was too busy about everything that he lost his cool and ran into Lewis. And so if Lewis hadn't been complaining for 45 laps by the time that he crashed into Lewis, I don't know if you caught any of that.
I just know that I can tell when Lewis's car is competitive.
Right.
Because we start to hear things like, these tires are bad.
Yeah, he starts to complain.
I'm like, oh,
it's a poker
Lewis
face.
is back.
Yeah, poker face is back.
He's lying, you guys. He's lying.
He's lying. The tires are great. The tires are great. Don't listen.
But everyone's going to fall for it.
Right.
It's the biggest joke in the world.
We'll get back around to Max.
Yeah.
We don't need to talk about Max too much, but the point being that the Lewis and Mercedes just weren't there. So to put it simply, they pit Lando first. They should have just pit him second. They could have completely avoided the awkward conversation of having to reverse drivers. Look, the reality is that what you're staring at is you're saying that the better option was to tell your drivers to swap places to give Oscar the win for his first win. than it was to just let the natural order play out and allow it to be a momentous memory for everybody. I don't believe that Ferrari would have done this.
Yeah.
I don't believe that Mercedes would have done this. I don't believe Red Bull would have done this.
Yeah. And you have why yeah, let it play out. Like if you made the bad call, if whatever it was, just let it play out.
Right.
And just be like, hey, sorry, bad orders. Oscar, you'll get your win soon.
Yeah.
Lando waited years to get his win.
Right.
Why are we now like playing nice to the drivers? I mean, like everyone gets a trophy sort of feeling.
Sort of feels real.
Yeah.
But even to that point, I think that there's some establishment of there's no number one driver at McLaren, which is kind of huge.
Yeah.
And as somebody who kind of thinks that Lando doesn't have what it takes somewhat, I think it's big and a big statement from the team that they did this to him for the sake that Oscar might be the guy that can win the championship.
Yeah. Sorry, Lando.
And that's brutal. That's a really brutal reality that Lando's being faced with right now. There's no way he's not thinking that.
Yeah.
He's been with the team for how long?
Yeah. And he's like, and this is what they're doing to me?
Right.
Yeah.
That's pretty heavy. And you got it. I mean, as an outsider, I'm questioning that.
I mean, we've talked about it. Little baby Norris is learning life lessons, and he's growing up into a man right before our eyes. And he's growing into a angry man.
Lando Norris, what was the lesson he learned in Austria? Max isn't actually your friend.
Oh, yeah. I was like, which was the Austrian race? I forget. They all look the same in my memory.
Right.
But yeah, Max isn't your friend on the track.
Right.
And Max races hard when he's trying to win.
At any stage in Lewis's career, do you think that he had any mistake of someone's his friend on track?
No.
Never once.
Yeah. He's ice cold.
Fernando Alonso, do you think he ever had that problem?
No, he doesn't even have friends in real life.
Right. Kimi Räikkönen, do you think he ever had that problem?
I don't think... No, he also doesn't care about anything.
He doesn't give a flying crap
it's a different
about
attitude,
anything.
But yeah.
Yes, that's true. But legendary.
I don't even know
winners.
if he considers friends. Yeah, he doesn't even know what a friend
There's
is.
just humans around him.
Yeah, there's just humans participating in life around him.
There's a child. There's a few children he has that I'm sure he's like, there's a child.
Yeah.
Is that mine?
Yeah.
Oh.
It is okay.
Is that mine?
I miss him.
Yeah, he's the best. But the point is that we've talked about it forever. Since we started this podcast, one of the things you found most interesting was the mindset of a champion.
Right. Go back and listen to that episode.
It's something that has long been interesting. That like borderline narcissistic egomaniac.
Yeah, it's this thing
that
where
it takes.
Nothing is your fault.
Never.
Max could like T-bone Lewis in the most blatant wreck in the world, and Max will tell everyone it's not his fault.
Right.
Because he has to believe that, because he is the best in his brain. As soon as he starts to believe otherwise, it's all downhill.
Well, and
you're then giving way to Lewis.
And that's the reason why Max is the way he is. I think that people, I'm harsh on him when he acts like a child.
Yeah, it's
and he's
the worst.
Throwing fits and whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wait a minute, they're all this way.
They're all this way.
They're all this way, and they have to be. And that's what concerns me with Lando. None of the people we listed would have ever moved over for a teammate. Ever. Never, ever would have done it. Max denied Red Bull their first 1-2 in the Drivers' Championship with Sergio Perez because he wouldn't move over for him in Brazil. And he came over the radio and he said, never ask me to do that. I can't believe you guys asked me to do it.
I remember that.
And it denied Red Bull their first 1-2 in Drivers' Championship. That would have pissed the team off like you wouldn't believe.
Yeah.
They've been a team for how long by that point and hadn't done it.
Yeah.
And he was like, don't ask me to do that. Just such a selfish decision.
Wow.
And that's why that dude's a world champion.
This is amazing.
And this is where Lando Norris is falling short.
Oof.
He should have said, absolutely hell no.
Yeah.
I'm winning this race.
Yeah, cut the radio. I'm finishing this race.
Right. Yeah. Don't play this on TV. I'm going to win.
Yeah.
And just won. And I would have been like, there he is.
We have a champion.
The dude is going to be world
This is
champion.
champion material.
That in that moment, that's when I would have seen Lando become world champ.
Rather than like this hardened, amazing race car driver. It's like now he's like soft around the edges.
Right.
Yeah.
He's too much of a team player. And when the first time I ever saw Lando play too nice was the race that you were at.
In Monza?
In Monza. Lando had enough pace to attack Daniel in Monza, and the team told him, hold position,
Yeah.
hold position, hold position. And at the
Yeah.
end of the race, I've never seen a dude be happier with second.
Mhm.
He was genuinely so pumped for a 1-2 finish from McLaren, which was at the time
Pretty epic.
an unbelievable deal.
Yeah.
But when you consider that moment to now, that guy still hasn't evolved into the person who's demanding wins.
Mm-hmm.
This is mine, no one else's.
Wow.
And I think that's the message I learned this weekend.
Wow.
Is that it's got to change now or it never will.
It seems like it's already in.
It's in stone.
Yeah.
You could put it on his headstone.
For real.
Great second place.
Oh, that's harsh. We're calling it now that Lando's career's over. Nah, he's still a good driver. What if do you think he's getting all these wake up calls? Do you think he starts to become more second place to Oscar? And what if he switches teams? I think Daniel Ricciardo.
I think he's in big trouble if he switches teams.
I would think so.
McLaren has actually taken great care of him.
And I think Daniel Ricciardo has kind of explained that what Lando doesn't. What is it? He just doesn't. He's ignorant.
Well, because it's the only car he's ever driven.
Yeah, and that's Lando's big mistake right now, or his big weakness is that he has only ever driven one car.
Right.
He doesn't know what it's like to get in a car that's not built for him, that he hasn't grown up with for 5-6 years now.
Yeah, he doesn't bring a lot of maturity to another team.
Yeah.
Having experienced so many variations of one thing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. So if he goes to a new team, he's then going to learn what it's like to really struggle in a car.
Yeah, that's designed for Fernando
Mm-hmm.
or whoever his teammate is.
And you're the second player coming in.
Right.
And you can't figure out the system.
Right.
It's going to be tough.
And I think that if you parallel even drivers who are on the grid who are extremely competitive with one another, Carlos and Charles almost take each other out at every freaking race.
Right.
It's constant.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because they are unyielding. I'm number one driver. There is no number one driver. It's just me.
Yeah.
And if you're not going to yield, then freaking we'll crash, whatever.
Yeah.
That's just the way it is. And I think that's where our conversation about Charles and Lando, I think that's where Charles takes the cake.
It's a not a bad argument. I think one thing that I remember talking about before on that way early episode, if you go back and listen to it, but I'll just cap out what I was remembering, is it's interesting that the person who doesn't obey team orders will most likely in the long run be the person they want on the team.
Right.
And for instance, like Lewis and Max never are
It
going
seems like
to
it doesn't
obey
make
team
any
orders.
sense.
Yeah. And then they have that mindset of a champion. And then that's what makes them more attractive to the team.
Yeah.
Like, oh, Lando is a killer.
Right.
We don't want to lose him.
Right.
He is crushing every single race. He's not going to give up. He's not going to relent to someone coming in on the corner.
Right.
And that's who we want in that first seat.
Right.
And now it's like, ooh, Oscar's looking pretty solid. He has just as many wins as Lando now.
So that's what I mean.
And a sprint race.
And that's what I mean when I say that there's the fact that Oscar walked away from this race without feeling awkward, without posting anything that was like, man, I wish it wasn't like that.
He's looking like a killer, man.
Is that he's showing the team that I have that instinct.
So even if he didn't win it by actually racing, he's like, I won it because I'm the man of this team.
I won it and it was mine to win and the team made a stupid mistake, whatever. That doesn't matter. I won the freaking race.
Yeah.
And I'm a Formula One race winner in Hungary and I have a rad piece of ceramic awesomeness on my shelf now.
Yeah. Lando has a rad ceramic helmet that looks like a face.
Yeah. He's got the second place trophy 2 years in a row.
Cool. Dude, that's an amazing perspective. It's an interesting thing to think about, and it'll be fun to see how it plays out the rest of the year for McLaren because they're just getting better and better and faster.
Right.
And let's see how that dynamic plays out because will there come an instance where Oscar has to give up to team orders and he's just going to be like, no.
But I think that even so, the point that I feel like at the end of the day is the worst part of this is McLaren didn't have to do it.
They didn't. Yeah,
they just didn't have to do it that way.
So weird.
But now they've
maybe Zach Brown wants the mind games to be played.
I mean, maybe there's some dynamic of being like, we really, really hoped that he wouldn't give in. Mm-hmm. But I listened to a lot of those radio messages, and I was mind game. I listened to those radio messages, and I'd be like, I'm worried for my job.
Yeah.
Like, Lando, I'm warning you. Zach, I'm trying to protect you. You're like, from what?
Push it him.
He's like, I'm trying to protect you.
I want him to say no. Dude, let's talk about Max crashing into
yeah,
Lewis.
yeah. Let's move on to the next chapter of drama.
In the Hungarian Grand Prix, near the end, Max kind of tried to dive bomb in on the inside, going around a right-hand corner, and locked up really big because he probably realized he wasn't going to make the corner, and then hit Lewis, and he flew up into the air.
Right.
But he finished the race, right?
He did. He managed to finish.
Yeah.
In 5th? Yeah. He split the two Ferraris.
Yeah. I don't have a very good takes on any of this, but it does seem that when Max is starting to crash into people again.
Yeah.
And it's exciting to watch. I've had multiple people, fans of the show and friends of mine, write in and text in to be like, dude, this is a fun season.
It's gotten so
I'm like,
good.
oh yeah, it's getting good. And it's fun because Max is getting angry.
Pissy. Yeah.
And he's getting back to what he was in the 2020, 2021 season.
We're all starting to have flashbacks to one of the best seasons we've watched.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we've talked about it. And now in the last 4 races or 5 races, it's been a different winner every single race.
Right.
Red Bull has kind of slid off on its first place dominance.
Absolutely.
It's wild. So Max coming in and crashing into Lewis was fun to watch.
I think we're seeing the unraveling of Red Bull.
Ooh, dear.
And even though it's funny, there was an announcement made because Helmut Marko committed to 2 more years on contract with Red Bull.
Oh, good. Yeah, that's what we wanted. He is a good addition to the team.
Everybody was like, oh, I guess that means that there's peace now between Verstappen's and Christian because that was the missing piece. Max was saying that the only reason that he would stay with Red Bull is if Helmut stayed.
Gosh.
Helmut has signed a new 2-year contract with Red Bull. But here's me saying that means nothing.
Yeah.
It still means nothing.
Okay, what employee of the organization has a contract? What have we ever cared about anyone else's contract?
No one cares about Helmut Marko's contract.
80-year-old man who's
yes.
just been nothing but problems.
Who's been nothing but racist and
problems for an organization.
And so mean to everybody.
Yeah, Christian is just like, oh, good, you're still around?
I'm so glad you're still here.
And my headache will not be going away for 2 years.
Jerry, I thought you poisoned him.
Yeah.
Welcome back to the team, Helmut.
Hooray.
What drink did you give to him?
Is
Is the dog dead in the corner? Okay. Anyways, it was a dark scenario at the Horner home. But yeah, I mean, I think Red Bull's, look, they're really under pressure.
Yeah.
They are only 50 some odd points in the lead in the constructors at this point.
Mm-hmm.
That is nothing.
Yeah.
We talked about it. The last race last year, so Silverstone the year before, was a 200-point deficit between first and second.
They'd already won it. We already knew.
They already had locked it in.
Yeah.
This year, I think it was 57 points between Red Bull and McLaren.
And for Max to not get on the podium, to get fifth.
At all, yeah.
That's a huge point loss.
Huge loss.
Week after week. And then at the end of the season, they're losing Adrian Newey.
Yeah.
This might be their last chance for a while
and
at a championship.
They cut him off already.
Oh.
Adrian is not allowed to access data. He's not allowed to have any involvement in the car moving forward. Nothing.
Is that part of the deal of him moving on?
Yeah,
or is
part
it
of
just
his
them spiting him?
Well, it's part of gardening leave because he announced that he was leaving.
And so no surprise.
So he comes to the racetrack.
Car's getting slower.
Yeah. He's at the racetrack as a spectator right now.
He's at the racetrack getting lots of ideas.
And it's funny to see that car just slowly going backwards.
Oh, dear.
Isn't that crazy? It's an instant result.
It's so crazy how valuable Adrian Newey is. And sometimes I think we place too much of it on his shoulders, at placing him as some sort of aerodynamic god.
Yeah.
He can't be that good. He's not the GOAT.
Yeah.
But the evidence
is just there.
And it's instant.
It's immediate.
As soon as he walks out of the building, people just walk slower in the headquarters at Red Bull.
Yeah,
Everything is just slower.
McLaren and it has just destroyed Red Bull development in this last little while.
Oh my gosh.
And it's okay, so what are you guys going to do?
Yeah.
And Pierre Wache is the guy that they've been continually giving all the credit to, saying that the RB20 is his baby.
Oh, what a
And
pressure.
Now it's
what a weight on those poor shoulders.
Yeah, that guy is this is the first time that you've taken full ownership of a car and it is not going your way. Brutal.
To have to fill that seat.
As a
and
brutal
also
seat.
Then for Red Bull to be like, this is all him.
Yeah, exactly. He's the man.
We just had the best car designer in the history of the world leave.
Yeah.
But Pierre.
Yeah.
He's the man.
Pierre Wache, everybody.
Oh no!
It's just brutal.
Oh no, dude!
It's brutal.
It's just like
Poor guys.
it's like the Rolling Stones opening for you.
Yeah. You're like, oh darn.
And now everyone, Micah Mezqua. Big hand to the Rolling Stones.
Yeah. Thanks for Mick Jagger for the intro. I'm gonna play my original song.
It's brutal.
It's brutal.
It's so bad.
So awkward. So Red Bull is really, really starting to feel the pain.
Yeah.
And with the talks of Mercedes and Max, I mean, the rumor mill is nuts.
Mm-hmm.
I've started to hear rumors that George Russell is talking to Audi. And the reason he's talking to Audi is because if Toto brings Max on and he wants Kimi Antonelli as Max's teammate, there's no space for George.
Old Georgie Porgy pudding pie.
And so, yeah.
We're all going to just say goodbye.
Well, yeah, but I never thought that they would do that because George was taking precedence over Lewis.
Yeah, and I thought Mercedes loved the yabba dabba doo catchphrase.
We thought that they were the ones coaching Max.
He was getting the Fruity Pebbles sponsorship on the car.
It was going to help with the revenue.
That's crazy.
Yes. So the rumor mill is getting louder because
which is fun.
Carlos Sainz is a real viable option to replace Max Verstappen at Red Bull.
Mm-hmm.
And they want that.
Yeah.
And Christian Horner's looking at it going, Toto, you want to pay Max $120 million?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Carlos, you want to come race for us?
Yeah.
He's dying for a seat. We'll take Carlos.
Mm-hmm.
And it's already, we'll get around to that as well. I won't even go down that rabbit hole. But the point being that because of all of the movement talks,
mm-hmm.
because of the Red Bull talk of Max, because of helmet, all that stuff, the unsettled Red Bull without Adrian Newey, with the option of Max Verstappen leaving, we're just seeing it come apart.
Yeah, that team's gonna.
I don't know if they can come back.
Yeah, there's a lot of holes appearing.
The one thing that I'll say about Max though is that when Max has a bad race, he always comes back a freaking serial killer in the next race, and he is just no emotion, crosses the line, and is like, "Yeah, it was a lovely day." Gets out of the car and smiles like nothing ever happened.
Well, coming up is Spa.
Yeah.
We'll see what he brings. Was it this weekend that he was just sim racing a bunch? Is he getting too cocky, too relaxed?
I think a little.
And hopefully this is like starting to...
Small wake-up call?
Well, yeah, a little
Which
wake-up
is a funny
call.
pun for a guy who was up at 3 a.m. sim racing.
It's like, wake up. He's like, I am. That's why I'm sim racing.
So, yeah, doing it.
Yeah.
Kelly.
Yeah.
Bring the piss bottle.
What is that? On South Park? Mom! Mom!
It's the World of Warcraft episode.
Getting this, like, the bedpan?
Yeah.
Oh, that scene is the worst.
Yeah, it is terrible. But that's
that
Max,
is Max and
sim
Kelly.
racing at 3 a.m.
That's a romantic night for Max and Kelly.
It is a very
that's
romantic.
a nice, like, hot Friday night. Get the Gatorade jug. The big one. Bottle me. It's an endurance race.
She just like fish hooks him with a straw while he's racing. And like, it's not even close his mouth.
Bottle me.
But I do think that like Max, it was funny. Crofty said it, like 50 times during the race. He was like, Max sounds a bit on edge. Do you think he needs a bit more sleep?
Really?
He kept hammering on it. And Brundle was kind of like, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
And I think it's because it's an awkward topic. Because I think that all of them feel that way. But they all defend it like, Max just operates at a different level.
Well, I don't... Still kind of new to the sport.
Right.
And I'm trying to think, have there been party F1 drivers?
All of them?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I'm thinking of
Jensen Button.
James Hunt.
Yeah.
Would he have been up the night before, partying all night long, then come to the track and either, like, had a bad race or just crushed it?
It's slightly hungover.
Yeah.
And gets in the race car like, ugh.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's just a different breed of individuals now.
Kimi Räikkönen was like, I wonder if he could blow zeros for driving on a normal day. Like for some of the seasons.
There's that story on Top Gear where the guy passes out on his shoes, like throw ups and passes out on his shoes. And he's telling this story on Top Gear. And he's like, oh, it was me.
Yeah, he's like, oh, it's me.
I was the one who passed out on your shoes.
Oh, that was me. Yeah.
But it's just a different breed, the new generation of kids.
That's true.
they're not as party culture.
No.
They're up playing video games.
Right.
And that's just a new thing for people like Crofty.
Right.
He's probably used to the James Hunts. He's probably like, he was up partying.
Yeah.
What a champ.
Right.
But now he's like harassing Max. Man, get some sleep. You're up playing video games.
Well, and you think
Grow up.
when you think about people like Nico Rosberg, who like had to work so hard to beat Lewis and was like a psycho. He put strain on his personal life.
Oh, man.
To constantly get the right amount of sleep, to eat the right foods, to make sure that he was just the lean, mean fighting machine.
Yeah.
So he could win a championship, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And those types of people exist as well. And that's the kind of person they have to be able to get a championship.
Valtteri Bottas, similar.
Right.
He got a divorce while he was at Mercedes because it was just the worst.
It was such a traumatic experience being Lewis's teammate.
Yeah.
But Max is like, and it's funny, this is mean. You see Instagram posts of like Charles and Carlos, and they're just ripped. These dudes with their shirts off, sitting on a boat, and you're just like, oh my gosh, these guys are crazy athletes.
It's that pasta.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you see Max, and he's like on a stand-up paddleboard, and you're like, kind of flabby. Are you working out at all?
Nah,
and it's just like, it is natural to the guy.
Yeah.
Like, he's not putting in some of the effort the other guys do because he's a machine.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. It's to your point. Does it really affect
him? Is this going to be a wake-up call? Is he going to start training more?
I don't know.
We'll know if we see a super ripped Max Verstappen.
I mean, in respect. I respect all these guys, though. Like, the truth is that they are all unreal athletes.
Shifting gears. Dude, we got a listener question. This is from an old listener of the show, old listener or longtime listener, Nicholas. He's written in a few questions. Yeah, he sent in a question. It's kind of shifting sports within the motorsport world. But
okay.
He says, what do you think of the Chicago track for NASCAR?
Okay, yeah.
That was his question. I don't know if it just happened.
It did. Yeah.
What are your thoughts? It's a street course.
It is.
Yeah. What are your thoughts, Mike?
And it's a street course. It's kind of like two squares that offset each other a little bit.
Kind of like a weird figure eight?
Yeah, but they don't cross over, right?
Okay.
So like they go the opposite directions in that point.
Okay.
But there's cool elevation change, as we know, is one of my favorite things. So there's like a big hill, and it's kind of cool. The guys from NASCAR were like focusing on the street name, and then a race car would come over the hill, and they would zoom out with the race car.
It's that big of a hill?
Oh yeah,
on a NASCAR track?
Yeah, it was pretty big. And like Sonoma has a huge hill for like one of their road courses.
Yeah.
But with Chicago, it does have some variation in elevation.
I know last year was the first time they tried a street race.
Mm-hmm.
And this year, and it was a disaster last year, wasn't it?
It was somewhat. But
there was like a big pileup, and they couldn't even get the cars unstuck because they're so clunky.
Right. Yes, because their tires go flat, then they're stuck. And so they have to use this thing to like hook them up and tie them and move them. It's really stupid, but yes.
But this year, was it a better race?
It was a good race. It was a great race. SVG, Shane Van Gisbergen, the New Zealander.
Boom.
He won the first year's race.
Oh, and
this year he won the Xfinity Series race, which is just the F2 of NASCAR.
SVG.
And then in the Cup
MVP.
race, he was running third or fourth, and he got rear-ended. And just blasted him into the wall. It was a bummer.
To the wall.
I don't know how I'm supposed to continue to talk after you do that.
Okay, so he didn't finish.
He didn't finish.
Dang
it was a bummer.
I like SVG.
Yeah, he's rad, and he was so cool about it. Like, he's the most humble, just casual guy. Alex Bowman from Hendrick Motorsports ended up winning the race. And yeah, like the racetrack is really simple, but when you consider what NASCAR is, ovals are very simple and can be very entertaining because of what it takes to drive the car, right? So even though the racetrack is kind of simple, the racing is still pretty good.
I'd be interested to go to the Chicago races.
Yeah. It's rained both years.
Oh, okay.
I think that's just part of being in Chicago, though. I don't know if it's necessarily any time of year or anything. It's just seems like normal weather there.
We should go next year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was really cool, though.
Yeah, cool. All right, cool. That was his question.
Yeah.
Check out the Chicago race. Check out NASCAR.
Watch the highlights. It was cool.
Because after this week, after Spa, we have summer break.
The summer break.
And if you need motorsport fixed during that time, NASCARs, IndyCars.
NASCAR actually has a 2-week break right now because of the Olympics.
Because NASCAR races in France. All the Grand Prix in France for NASCAR, the Cup Series.
Yeah, is Talladega.
The,
Temps.
yeah.
It's
Bristol. It's the Perrier Cup series.
Is the Perrier Cup there?
Yeah.
In the Xfinity?
They would hate NASCAR.
They would hate
I
it.
think NASCAR culture is very opposite of French culture.
Yeah.
That's just my guess.
Yeah.
Does Citroën have a car in NASCAR?
No.
Does
Definitely not.
Peugeot?
No.
Does
No.
Do they make any other cars?
I don't think so.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, the Peugeot, Citroën,
So they're taking a break for
Renault,
Olympics.
Alpine.
That reminds me, there was a moment during the Hungarian Grand Prix. They had been kind of mentioning marbling a lot for that track in particular. I don't know why. Is that a thing in Hungary? Like it's just a rougher track, so the wheels degrade
Softer
more
compounds.
and things.
They ran softer compounds this race, yeah.
But there was a moment where Max tried to pass Lewis.
Yeah.
And he got around him, and he had to go off the racing line.
Yep.
And then immediately lost grip and went off long and lost the chance to pass Lewis.
Right.
And I remember Brundle and Crofty being like, oh, he went right into the marbles, probably lost a lot of grip. And I was like, it's that instant
Yeah.
that those marbles and all the little debris from the tires are just sitting out there waiting to get
Picked up.
Yeah, it's crazy to me.
Well, when you think about how the tires get hot, and that's what the grip comes from, is them being hot, grippy, sticky tires.
Yeah.
And then you go offline and you pick up all the rubber that falls off of all the other cars.
Oh, you just like made your car a little like a bumpy sandpaper thing.
Yeah, and it's like suddenly when your tire was flat and it was on a bunch of other hot rubber on the same racing
became
line,
studded.
it just became this really not flat tire, and all your surface
And all
tension
your
is
grip.
gone.
Oh wow! And then you have to whip them all off again. And
Yeah.
wow,
Clean them up, heat them up, get them back up to.
that is so bizarre.
It is. It's funny because you'd think that would be something they're engineering away from.
Mm-hmm.
But it is like kind of what makes the racing hard. So it's like it's a fine balance. It's like, what do you make a perfect tire, or do you make something that degrades and then is hard to race?
I mean, I liked when he almost passed and didn't. It was exciting.
Yeah, it was interesting. It's like, oh, you didn't get it right, so it's gonna take you 4 more laps.
And then crash into Lewis anyway.
Rocket League.
Cool. Well, I mean, that's it. Send in your questions to us, fastones.us@gmail.com, or Instagram. Just follow us. Or watch us on YouTube. We have a lot of people now who are watching us on YouTube, and it's growing every day. And we'd appreciate it if you told your friends,
Yeah.
shared it, whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, hope you had a great week. Catch you next time.
We'll see you next week.
I'm pointing at Mike like, Mike, catch you next time. Down the camera. Catch you next time.
Yeah, you're gonna catch them.
Fast ones.
.us.
Big hand to the Rolling Stones.
Yeah. Thanks for Mick Jagger for the intro.